Everybody's talking at me.
CRN, Digital Talk Radio, the original Talkback with Chuck Wilder. I got Paul Stern up there near the Hollywood Hills at the network. And we're live across America on this radio station or cable system and around the world at crntalk.com. Today's guest, Michael Daugherty. He's a government whistleblower by necessity, CEO of a cancer detection laboratory. His book is called The Devil Inside the Beltway. And today we look at his posting of, is Google a very real threat to America's freedom? Ash Shao, commentary writer for the Washington Examiner, with the update on the sexual assault, and the big story from the Rolling Stone. In the second hour, Jessica Vaughn, Director of Policy Studies for the Center for Immigration Studies. And we'll be looking at her latest, including this new data out on immigration gang arrest. In the news, Senator Rand Paul began his presidential campaign today with a roundly anti-Washington message and a transformative vision of the Republican Party and its cornerstone policies. We have come to take our country back, Paul announced to the cheers, sharing the stage in Louisville with a sign bearing his newly minted campaign slogan, Defeat the Washington Machine, Unleash the American Dream. And following warm-ups from supporters, including former Democrats and his own wife, Paul stressed his experience as an ophthalmologist over his experience as a first-term senator. Well, a 2009 NCIS investigation into Sergeant Bo Bergdahl's activities while in Afghanistan revealed that there is clear evidence he was going over to the other side with a deliberate plan, according to Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer. He was on the O'Reilly Factor. Schaefer, former military intelligence officer, Fox News contributor, said two senior sources told him that the Naval Criminal Investigation Service investigation included a forensic review of his computer, which showed that he had intent to travel to Uzbekistan. He was going off to Uzbekistan, Schaefer told Fox News. He had made contact with the local Afghans, wanted to be moved, and then made contact with the Russians because he wanted to talk to Russian organized crime. Clearly, he was not all there relating to what he was doing, Schaefer told O'Reilly. I think we're going to see more and more, as this report is made public, number of disconcerting things with Mr. Bergdahl. Military source also told Fox News there was strong intelligence after Bergdahl's 2009 disappearance, indicating he was handed over to the Taliban about 10 days after he left his base, and the group wanted him. A source who is familiar with the investigation and efforts to recover Bergdahl said there was an effort to pick up Bergdahl, but potentially block his crossing into Pakistan. According to sources, data collection at the time indicated Bergdahl made contact with Afghanistan, who spoke limited English, was part of a local construction project. A leaked military assessment of immediate search also reported communications traffic, low-level voice intercepts, that an American soldier with a camera is looking for someone who speaks English. Now, Schaefer told the NCIS investigation, which included interviews with squad mates as well as Afghans working outside the wire, resulted in Bergdahl being charged with misbehavior toward the enemy. Just thinking here, here Obama released 5 terrorists to let this guy out. Maybe it might be closer to 6, if you get my drift. Now, also, in case you forgot, the Obama administration smeared and lied about Bo Bergdahl's platoon when they knew they were telling the truth about the deserter. The Obama administration knew that Bergdahl was planning to going over to the other side when he deserted. The Obama White House accused Bo Bergdahl's platoon mates of swift-boating him. That was their quote. after the Obama White House released the 5 top Gitmo terrorists for the deserter. The State Department spokesman said his platoon mates were not reliable sources, and at least 5 U.S. heroes and as many as 14 were lost looking for Bo Bergdahl. Boy, I hadn't heard that number, 14. Well, in California, Southern California water wholesaler water deliveries. Faced with the dwindling regional reserves and a 4th year of drought, the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California expected to vote next week to ration imported water that it supplies to 26 Southland water districts. Jerry Brown imposing a 25% mandatory restriction, talking about keeping track on how many showers you are taking. Well, you know, former Hewlett-Packard CEO, potential Republican presidential candidate Carly Filarona is blaming California's water crisis on, quote, liberal environmentalists who are willing to sacrifice other people's lives and livelihood at the altar of their ideology. With different policies over the last 20 years, all of this could have been avoided, she said in an interview. Despite the fact California has suffered from droughts for millennia, liberal environmentalists have prevented the building of a single new reservoir or a single new water conveyance system over decades during a period in which California's population has doubled. What, are all the people from New York moving to California? No, you got to look south. Ms. Filarona said the result, 70% of California's rainfall washes out to sea every year. California is a classic case of liberals being willing to sacrifice other people's lives and livelihoods. It is a tragedy, she said. Government has grown so huge, so powerful, so costly, so complex, it's literally crushing the life out of this country. And you know what I did? I looked up what I keep talking about, you know, the little Delta smelt. Well, I found it. March 13th, 2014. Here's the story. California Appeals Court has sided with environmentalists over growers Thursday, upheld federal guidelines that limit water diversions to protect the Delta smelt. A battle over how the state will cope with its worst drought in a century. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that a lower court should have overturned recommendations that the state reduce exports of water from North to South California. The plan leaves more water in the Sacramento Delta for the finger-sized fish and have been blamed for exacerbating the efforts of the drought for humans. Reactions from both sides swift in the national political issue. In a blog post, Damian Schiff, attorney for growers, said the ruling body's ill that should be bodes ill for farmers, farm laborers, and millions of Californians dependent on a reliable water supply. Efforts to save the Delta smelt, and by the way, it only lives in the wetlands stretching north of San Francisco, have been described as the humans versus the fish battle. But as we pointed out, the fish won. You know, well, we're talking about California, okay? President Obama said today that he would act fast to take Cuba off the list of terrorism-sponsoring countries once he gets a State Department recommendation. As soon as I get a recommendation, I guess what would that be coming from Kerry? Anyway, I'll be in a position to act on it, Obama said in an interview with National Public Radio. In the interview, Obama had said he hoped to have an embassy open in Cuba by the time of the April 10th, 11th summit on the Americans. All right. Social Security Administration has approved disability benefits, wait for it, for hundreds of Puerto Ricans. And why did the Social Security approve these disability benefits? Why are they in this category, disability, these Puerto Ricans? You ready? Because they do not speak English. Despite the fact that Puerto Rico is predominantly a Spanish-speaking territory, this administration's Social Security says they need disability benefits because they do not speak English. I'm not making this up. Puerto Ricans, by the way, they're allowed to receive disability benefits because of their inability to speak English as well. Well, that's the same place we just talked about. Anyway, here's a quote. We found the agency did not make exceptions regarding the English language grid rules for claimants who resided in Puerto Rico, even though Spanish is the predominant spoken language. The audit said a person applying for disability in Puerto Rico who cannot speak English may increase his or her likelihood of receiving the disability benefits. Wow. You look at that story when you read it for the first time, I confess, and it's like they repeat the same thing 4 times. Tariq, Iraq. Mass graves believed to hold Iraqi soldiers have been discovered in the newly liberated Tariq. Up to 1,700 bodies may be recovered. ISA claimed to have executed that many soldiers captured in June outside Camp Speicher, fortified Iraqi base. One reporter from CNN says they saw 9 bodies recovered by forensic experts, one of the excavation sites. Grieving Iraqis, apparently not related to the soldiers, gathered to pray over the bodies. When the first 3 bodies were found, 10 Iraqi soldiers saluted the dead by firing 7 shots into the air. A top intelligence official under President Obama, Lieutenant Michael Flynn, he says the chances that Hillary Clinton's private emails were hacked is very high. Flynn, who ran the Defense Intelligence Agency but is now retired, called the hackings likely. He was on Megyn Kelly's show. As a military officer, if I said I was doing something for convenience sake to the soldiers that I was leading, and it was solely for my convenience instead of their welfare, I should be relieved of duty. I would expect to be fired, Flynn said. You know, it's one of those things where it doesn't feel good, it probably isn't, and this one doesn't feel good to me. And Megyn Kelly asked, what do you think the odds are that the Chinese, the Russians, hacked into that server and her email account? Very high, Flynn said without hesitation. Likely. Yep, likely. They're good at it. China, Russia, Iran, potentially the North Koreans, and other countries who may be our allies because they can. Flynn said we all ought to be asked about Hillary Clinton's emails and the security surrounding her private account. Hey, tomorrow I've got a United States constitutional lawyer coming on, and the subject, let me see here. Oh, you know what? No, that's Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. We're going to talk about Hillary Clinton running for president and already breaking the law. And this has to do with all of her great contributions. Well, this is totally unbelievable, they say. In honor of his meeting with Chinese Ambassador Chukaki, Washington State Governor Jay Inslee posted the Chinese flag. He raised it up there between the American flag and state flag at the Capitol building in Olympia. And a small group of people arrived at the Capitol that morning, and they removed the communist flag. By the way, they were assisted by an officer from the Washington State Police. Wow. Governor Jay Inslee. You know, it doesn't say if he's Republican or Democrat. And this is from, what is it, AP, I think? Yes, okay, so chances are he's a Democrat. And they decided to leave that out. But I'll check that out, just make sure. All right, we're going to take a break. Michael Daugherty coming up next.
We are perfectionists. We do it right and don't stop until the job is done. We build commercial zero-turn mowers with maneuverability, power, and comfort. Who are we? We are Kubota. Now, during our More Power to You sales event, you can get long-term financing as low as 0% APR on new commercial-grade Z700 series mowers. For more information or to find a participating dealer, visit Kubota.com.
What would an extra $250 a month mean to you? For some, it's a little financial breathing room. For others, it's a car payment, a home repair, or help with college tuition. Hi, I'm Jay Farner, president of Quicken Loans, and I've got some great news if you're looking to save money on your mortgage. All it takes is a simple phone call to Quicken Loans at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. Folks who refinance with HARP can save an average of $250 a month. That's $3,000 a year. Our home loan experts fully understand the HARP guidelines, and they'll walk you through our streamlined process. And for 5 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And this year, for the first time, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Important terms and conditions apply. Call us for cost information. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states and MLS number 3030.
Have you ever considered adding a home security system but thought it would be too expensive? Here's the good news. There's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home, valuables, and your loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Here's even better news. Your new system, worth $850, is free. You pay just a $99 installation charge and purchase monthly monitoring for less than $2 a day. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. Get the peace of mind that comes with owning an ADT monitored system, plus a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home. Call now, 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Here on CRN, we'd like to keep you updated on what's happening in wine throughout the state of California. Napa, Sonoma. The Pacific Coast has great regions like the Central Coast area, Paso Robles, Santa Barbara, Temecula. Join our very own Larry Van Alst as he takes a look at what's cooking on wine, the Sonoma Report. It comes your way Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. right here on CRN. Winemakers, superstars, wine growers, and more. With Larry Van Alst, what's cooking on wine, the Sonoma Report.
Everybody's talking at me.
Chuck Wilder, CRN. Let me tell you about Michael Daugherty. He's my guest, and he is a government whistleblower by necessity, CEO of a cancer detection laboratory by trade, small business owner, taking on the federal agencies with courage that you might say rivals David meets Goliath. His book, The Devil Inside the Beltway, it's a must-read for anyone who values freedom, or perhaps if you take it for granted, get a copy of it. The Devil Inside the Beltway. I'll give you his website here a little bit later on. Michael, welcome to the show, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I understand you might be at the Masters there, and you might be wearing a green. Are you wearing a green jacket?
I have just left Phil Mickelson, and I watched everyone today, and we're in the clubhouse, and they're putting me in a quiet corner to talk to you.
Fantastic. So who's going to win?
This is an open season over here, let me tell you. I mean, this is a coin toss. There's never been an open field like this right now. I mean, it's amazing. So, it's interesting. Good question.
Maybe I should have, I think I played 1 year on my high school golf team. I should have got in there and said, "Can I play? Can I?" Yeah, oh sure.
I'm really good. An interesting,
yeah. An interesting thing, Michael. We're going to talk about a posting you did. Is Google a very real threat to America's freedom? And I'll tell you, I have always been suspicious, and I start reading things, and how many times sometimes it takes you to get the answer you're looking for. In the newscast, I had a story about Washington State Governor Jay Inslee, and he visited this Chinese ambassador, and the guy gave him a Chinese Communist flag, and he raised it up. He put the American flag, the Chinese flag, and the state of Washington flag. And luckily, a group of people went to take it down, and I was looking at the story, and I said, oh, yeah, it was filed by AP. That's why I don't know if he's a Democrat or a Republican. And he must be a Democrat because they didn't put a D after his name. I went to Google. I said, I'm thinking to myself, my guest is coming up. Google. I went to Google, And about the third or fourth entry, believe it or not, you go to his website, he won't even tell you. But about the third or fourth entry on Google, I finally found out, yep, he's a Democrat. And I was going to say, I know this is later on, but you're talking about sometimes when you're looking for things, Google controls a search, and you may not go past page 1, for example. You may look down there at the bottom and see there's 12 pages, and we're going to give you one of the reasons. You know, you start out with this hypothetical thing about the year 2020. Do you want to read that, or you want to just get into the rest of it? Because I think it's pretty interesting.
No, go ahead, because I'm at the Masters here, so you read it.
Okay, here it is. Here's what Michael wrote. It's 2020. The New England Patriots, winner of 6 straight Super Bowls, are yet another routine meeting with the commissioner's office. Deputy NFL Commissioner Tom Brady and his chief of staff, Rob Gronkowski, okay a rule change that favors the Patriots for illegally taping other teams and deflating footballs over the preceding years. Meanwhile, members of the Patriots continue to happily contribute funding for the commissioner's new 45-room castle in Turks, and Bill Belichick agrees to continue coaching the commission's 12-year-old son in Pop Warner football. And it sounds like it's fantasy. Well, let me tell you something. Michael digs into what's been going on with Google, and he talks about a former Google officer is the president's chief technology advisor. Google employees contribute more to President Obama's re-election than did employees of any other company except Microsoft. Google lobbyists met with the Obama White House 230 times. And by comparison, lobbyists from rival Comcast, well, they were admitted to the sanctum a mere 20 or times in the same period. Comcast, 20 times. Google, 230 times. And, Michael, we're coming up on our break here in about 30 seconds. And this article, we're going to tell you what happened election night 2012, all right? And what about net neutrality? Were they involved in that? Oh, there's some hanky-panky going on, and it's not at the Masters. It's right here in the White House. Michael Daugherty, government whistleblower, by the way, michaeldaugherty.com, and that's michaelj.daugherty.com, DAUGHERTY. What an interesting story. Is Google a very real threat to America's freedom? Might have you having second thoughts about certain things. We'll be right back.
This is the Mike Huckabee Report for Tuesday. I'm Mike Huckabee. Rolling Stone magazine is now the tombstone of journalism. That story next. Looking forward to your tax refund? Well, so are identity thieves who steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hard-working Americans just like you. Once an identity thief gets a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually all the information they need to steal your identity and even your life savings is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus. LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides protection for your Social Security number, bank accounts, investments, even the equity in your home. And while no one can stop all identity theft and nobody can monitor every single business, LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. If you're filing taxes this year, especially if you're filing online, do what I did and get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. Visit lifelock.com/Huckabee now or call and use promo code Huckabee to save 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. Call 1-800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK, 800-240-LOCK. If you're not already a member of the Huckabee Exclusive, it's time to join. For full details, go to HuckabeeExclusive.com. Last November, Rolling Stone ran a graphic article accusing a University of Virginia fraternity of a brutal gang rape. But more diligent journalists exposed multiple problems, and the story was exposed as a fabrication. Publisher Jan Winner asked the Columbia Graduate School of Journalism to investigate, and it's now official. From the bias writer to the gullible editors to the non-existent fact-checking, Columbia found that Rolling Stone failed to follow even the most basic standards of journalism. Winner finally retracted the story, but declared that the scathing report was punishment enough. Nobody would be fired and nothing would be changed. They didn't even apologize to the students whose lives were nearly ruined by false accusation. They also proudly pointed to other major stories Rolling Stone has covered. And about those, I wonder if Columbia could take a look at those too. U.S. Special Forces Operations Command has admitted that the drive to put women into combat isn't as smooth as Pentagon PR would have us believe. Surveys of Special Operations Forces found there's serious concern among the ranks that if women can't meet the physical and mental demands of commando duty, the brass will end up bowing to political pressure to lower the standards for women. That could endanger missions and get soldiers killed. It's not just male troops who feel that way. Women in special ops roles are also concerned about a double standard for women, eroding effectiveness and reflecting badly on them. Surveys show that there are major misconceptions among the troops, so they're doing some different things in terms of educating the force. Now here's a suggestion. Don't impose a double standard. Then the troops will know that every member passed the same test. Finally, I've never understood the flirtation with socialism when its failure has been demonstrated over and over again. Most recently, in Venezuela. The late Hugo Chavez led the way in turning what was once a rising economy into a socialist utopia. 16 years later, the people there are desperate for even the most basic necessities. Fusion magazine reports that that includes the item that you never seem to be able to find in communist and socialist nations, toilet paper. Hotels can't get soap, toilet paper, and other items for their guests. The larger ones are paying 6 times the going rate for black market toilet paper, while the smaller ones just ask foreigners to bring their own. But the government is even trying to thwart that by confiscating outside toilet paper as contraband. I can guess whose bathrooms it ends up in. That seems to be the inevitable end result of socialism. There's no toilet paper. But the entire economy goes down the toilet. And this is the Mike Huckabee Report.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN, Chuck Wilder here with my guest, Michael Daugherty. And we're talking about his posting of Google, a very real threat to America's freedom. And, there were other stories. Remember about Google parking their planes at the special place, Michael, and not having to pay the rent that everybody else had to pay? I think they had like 5 or 6 private jets. Did you ever run across that story?
No, but it doesn't surprise me because they're a powerful organization, right? So everyone wants to dance with them. It's a two-way street. So now, this is not a surprise. Huh?
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, now, turning to election night 2012, the Google executive chairman, Eric Schmidt, he wasn't home watching the election results. He was like, you remember where he was?
Right, he's with the A-team on the re-election campaign for Obama because his job is to protect his corporation, and his job is to keep the people that have power over his corporation close to him. It's almost like keep your enemies closer. And when you've got someone like Obama who can be a bully, and if you go against him, can beat you up and play all sorts of games. I mean, it's Chicago-style politics. And you want to protect your company, and your company has all sorts of power in of itself. It's smarter defense to build a coalition with that politician than get sidetracked into a war. And this is a president who is not afraid to write executive orders or to involve himself in independent agencies like the FCC. So if you're running something big like Google, where Microsoft learned the hard way what the government will do to you, you want to snuggle up real close, and they had things that could help Obama. So it was a two-way street.
Now, on this 2012 election night, Obama's lieutenant, I was going to find this real quick here, he told Bloomberg News that Google executive chairman, Eric Schmidt, he said he helped recruit talent, he chose the technology, he coached the campaign manager. of the whole thing that was going on. And he was in this little special place they called the Cave. This was Obama's campaign office, and it was known as the Cave. And I think not too many people got in there, and they were dancing to the Korean song, Gangnam Style or whatever. Anyway,
right.
Now we get to something very serious, and you just touched on it, this net neutrality. Let me see here. Google lobbyists have been pushing for the implementation of net neutrality. And Obama, they wanted this thing called Title II provision that would benefit Google. And when President Obama got on this kick of net neutrality, he all of a sudden announces that he's in support of a plan including Title II, which is what Google wanted. And Tom Wheeler was against that, but then whenever the president said, I want it, well, then he had to kind of backtrack, I guess, right?
And this is the big picture here to everyone is the playbook of the government and the regulator with big corporations. I mean, it's all an illusion of victim, villain, and the government's the hero. Mm-hmm. So net neutrality is this fall headline of neutrality. And a big 21st century industrialists, the new industrialists, are Google and Facebook and Microsoft. These are the big players. And so they've already burned through their marketplace, and they've already built their kingdoms. So putting bureaucracy in front of people and snuggling it with the government so they win off of control and power, it protects those organizations that already have their kingdoms built. And so this whole illusion of net neutrality is shattered when we see suddenly Tom Wheeler flip his opinions. Suddenly they are making up rules, and they're saying Congress can't even know those rules at that stage.
Yeah. And also there were the 15 pages in net neutrality on the report that were taken out. And the FCC commissioner, people are saying, well, why did you take out those 15 pages? And they said, well, it was a last-minute submission from a major California-based company. And like Michael says, don't even think that it might be In-N-Out Burger.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. It's so buried. It's so far from our attention. And once they get the ball rolling, it's hard to turn it around. So what are we going to do now? Well, we've seen the FCC involve themselves and hide rules from Congress. Everyone should be scratching their head, folks. I mean, the civics books that taught us how the government works have been antiquated for 100 years because these agencies have been pulling this stuff for decades. And the fact that Congress isn't integral in this is a fact that we need to embrace.
All out of time here, and I just want to tell the listeners that in this report you say that 91.5% of Google searchers, they click through on the first page result. That's it. So Google, they can hide the stuff they want to hide very, very easily. Then you can't accuse them of being one-sided. No, there it was. It was on page 8. All you had to do was go through the 35,000 other, lines that were on the pages, and surely you would have found it. Hey, thank you very much. And the best website to keep up with you is Michael J. Daugherty.
The devilinsidethebeltway.com is even easier. Just the devilinsidethebeltway.com. The book's all over Amazon.
Fantastic. The devilinsidethebeltway.com. We'll do it again, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Good talking to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go to Ash Shao now, commentary writer for the Washington Examiner. Previously, she was an editor and writer for the Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action for America. Ash, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good. Boy, I'm telling you, it's so many reports you've got. Originally, I was just going to say, well, let's see here. What does the what do they think there at the university? And then 16 things we learned from the review of the Rolling Stone gang rape story from Columbia Journalism Review. But then today you've come out with the Columbia Dean actually discussed problems in the campus sexual assault reporting. And it's Dean Sheila Cornell. Is that her name?
Yes. Yes.
So she decided to answer a few questions.
Right, and one of them, they asked about, going forward, how you should report on sexual assaults, and she kind of demurred a little bit by saying, you shouldn't focus on the cases involved in these. You should be talking about whether college campuses are actually adequately handling them, which I contend they are not, but for reasons different than activists would say. I believe that the due process, that college campuses shouldn't be handling this because they can't adequately provide due process, nor do they want to, given the current climate. But beyond that, she also said that in these cases, you need to get the other side of the story. And she was specifically asked about the case at Columbia of Emma Sulkowicz, who, as you may know, is carrying her campus around and has sparked all these protests across the country of other women carrying mattresses around. And Sulkowicz claims that she was raped during an otherwise consensual encounter. But her story got muddied when Kathy Young over at the Daily Beast discovered, basically she just told the accused student's side of the story and provided Facebook messages that Sulkowicz had sent after the case that were all saying, "Oh, I love you, Paul," or "I miss you," or "Let's hang out," "I'm going to come to this party," "I'm going to bring you women at this party," all these things that cast doubt on her story. So Cornell addressed that, basically saying that those messages should have come out in the beginning.
She uses the words inconsistencies, right? Right,
those inconsistencies should have come out in the beginning and not at the end. And had those consistencies come out in the beginning, then, Sulkowicz might not be the national hero that she appears to be. She might not have been invited to the State of the Union. Kirsten Gillibrand might not be continuing to call the accused student, who was found not responsible by the campus court, by the way. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, sitting U.S. Senator, continues to call this man, who people know his name, continues to call this man a rapist without any regard for his side of the story. Maybe all of these things would have been differently if journalists in the beginning had, simply questioned her account.
Yeah, you almost wonder, was she sort of on an agenda? Oh,
absolutely.
I may be, yeah.
These are all agenda-based.
There's a story I saw on Fox News this morning, and I don't have it in front of me, and you may have seen it, and it's where this kid, I think it was a high school kid, being accused of multiple rapes, and then they said Facebook, all of a sudden, is going to spring him and set him free because these girls got together and said, we need to punish this guy. Let's all accuse that he raped us. And the reason I bring this up, and I'm wondering, do you think
if that ends up being true, that the girls actually decided on Facebook to do this, then that's completely insane. And in that case, it didn't get national attention beforehand because it would have just been yet another embarrassment, possible hoax, just like Rolling Stone. And when you just keep saying that, oh, this case isn't true, but this is a very real issue. Well, the cases that you're choosing to highlight are not the typical cases. They're not the issue. The typical case is that two students were drunk and both have a different side of the story. But that doesn't make for, quote-unquote, sexy reporting, such as the Rolling Stone brutal gang rape. And so that's why it's so difficult for journalists to call attention to this issue, because most reasonable people see these cases where two people were drunk and are just kind of like, how is that so easily considered rape? I mean, you're changing the laws to make it rape.
Well, I'm wondering if these girls that are accusing this high school student, I think he's a high school student, if this all didn't happen because of the Rolling Stone story,
Who knows?
It's terrible, that they pick up on this.
Right. Who knows when that happens? I mean, Jackie, the girl, the accuser in the Rolling Stone story, still has a victim status that is just not being questioned just because she's said she was a victim, and they still believe her even though there's absolutely no evidence that she was. And so you look at other cases, I'm actually about to have an article on this, that in other hoaxes, the accused still have far more damage done to them than the perpetrators of the hoax. The accusers rarely get anything.
When you get into past stories like this, I hope you do the one on the Reverend Al Sharpton.
That is actually in this case. I mean, he didn't pay. His friends paid for him. Tawana Brawley just started paying the man she wrongly accused last year, 25 years after the case. And when you look at it, he had his life, his career, his marriage destroyed by her lies, and is just now starting to get a couple $100 a month from her.
I hope I'm not wrong, but I understand, and I may be wrong on this, but I heard that once the Reverend even heard, all right, it didn't happen, he still pushed it.
Oh, of course. He to this day won't apologize. To this day he believes that it really happened. She won't apologize either.
I want to point out that I want the listener, there's 16 things we learned from the review of the Rolling Stone gang rape story that Ash wrote a couple of days ago. And go to the WashingtonExaminer.com, Ash Schow, SCHOW, and check that out, because that's some interesting questions, like what happened to the bloody red dress, wanting collaborating evidence, never got it. This is all these inconsistencies that the dean says who spoke to Jackie, portrayal inaccurate, so many things that were wrong with this story. And, of course, when you get to the very last one, the reporter didn't get fired. It was almost like, it was all made up. But, boy, didn't she didn't misspell one word, That's basically almost the way it came down to.
And the worst part is that Erdely has a history of sensational stories that turn out to be false. She reported, an altar boy claiming he was raped by priests, and that has been severely called into question, absolutely, pretty much debunked. There's also a YouTube clip of her admitting that the story that got her job at Rolling Stone, this I just found out today, was completely inaccurate, and yet she won an award for it. So she has a documented history of just completely botching stories, and yet she still has a job and will continue to write botched stories.
And number 9 here on that list, you say she may have lied about wanting to withdraw from the story, and then you get down to number 12, Rolling Stone editors agreed to stop looking for the alleged rapist when Jackie stopped responding.
Right.
Wow. It's, I don't know, Rolling Stone, they're the one that brought down General Petraeus, right?
They may have. I'm not sure.
I think they were. Seems like they were. They got hold of his mistress or something like that, and wow. And there is an interesting thing that I want to point out to you real quick here as we get ready to go on the break. Lisa Myers, okay, she was tweeting, well, so no one gets fired and no politics change? No wonder so few of us trust us anymore. This was former NBC News investigative correspondent Lisa Myers. You remember NBC, Trayvon Martin? They're the one that edited George Zimmerman's police call so that it would make him sound like a racist. Isn't it amazing how she goes, well, nobody got fired. I can't, but, ooh, wow, All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. More from Ash Schow, ASHESCHOW. When you go to WashingtonExaminer.com, look her up. They got a lot of people in their stable that are great writers, and she is just one of them. WashingtonExaminer.com. Be right back.
The showroom at South Point presents illusionist Rick Thomas. Mind-gripping effects that will have you mesmerized. April 10th through the 12th. Is it magic? Illusion. Is it real? Tickets are vanishing fast. Conjure yours now by the magic of going online at southpointcasino.com or charge by phone 702-797-8055. Rick Thomas at the South Point.
I want to start out with some of my songs that go back to my very first recording.
The Showroom at South Point presents Crystal Gale, April 24th through the 26th. Tickets available now. In person at the South Point box office, online at southpointcasino.com, or charge by phone 702-797-8055. Don't miss Crystal Gale at the South Point.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
I'm your pet. Woof, meow. And now that it's getting warmer, I'll be getting out a lot more. Yep, where the fleas and ticks are. Good thing 1-800-PET-MEDS offers the same flea, tick, and heartworm medications as the vet, but for up to 50% less. 1-800-PET-MEDS also has fast free shipping and 100% satisfaction guarantee. So call or go to 1-800-PETMEDS.com today and protect me, your pet. Free shipping on orders over $49.
Hello, CRN listeners. This is Michael Horn, inviting you to join me and my co-host, Sommelier Nicole Nielsen from Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, as we present What's Cooking on Wine. Find out about the latest trends in wine, great food, spirits, and a whole lot more. It's What's Cooking on Wine, done live at 6 o'clock Monday nights at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse in Pasadena, California, and then the replays throughout the weekend right here on CRN. So if you love wine and you love great food, it's What's Cooking on Wine right here on CRN.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Ash Shao, commentary writer, Washington Examiner. We're looking at this Rolling Stones article, and you mentioned that the dean, Nicole Aramo, E-R-A-M-O? Aramo, okay. Even came out and said, hey, she was making numerous false statements, misleading about the manner in which I conduct my job as the chair of the University of Virginia's Sexual Misconduct Board. And anyway, basically saying that I can say the account of my actions in Rolling Stone, false and misleading, but then couldn't report. She couldn't report on what was going on because they're not allowed to make a comment on the case, I guess.
Right, because of privacy laws. You can't release student records unless the student waives them, and Jackie, of course, did not waive them. Therefore, everything ended up coming from Jackie, and because the school legally could not help Sabrina Rubin Erdely, she took that as a sign of stonewalling because, her narrative, her already preconceived notion was that this girl was a rape victim who got no help from a university more concerned with its own reputation than one of its own students. She viewed that as stonewalling and evidence of this narrative she already had in her mind. And, Aramo specifically was portrayed very negatively when, other sexual assault survivors, not only one of the other 16 things we learned, not only did these other survivors disagree with how University of Virginia was portrayed, but some of them, came to Aramo's defense right after the article came out because they recognized that, no, Dean Aramo was their best friend on campus after this happened to them. Yeah,
I think this lady got messed up somehow, said, oh, am I writing fiction or is this really, And I heard a newscast earlier today, and he actually used the words, this is the downfall of the Rolling Stone magazine. I don't think so just on this, but the fact they didn't fire her seems to be getting a lot more people up in arms than what actually,
Because what happens the next time she writes a story? She has this history we're finding out. We've learned since this. She has this history of writing sensational stories that turn out to not be true. What happens the next time she writes a story? It's going to create waves. It's going to get them traffic, but it's going to be people who are picking apart her story and finding that it was wrong. Like, she's never going to be able to write a story without this hanging over her head. Can you ever imagine a time when you see a byline from Sabrina Rubin Early and don't just say, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, knowing them, the way things look, it'll be front page.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, listen, you mentioned now you're going to be doing your new story, and I got to check that one out, and this will be on past false rapes. Or what's going to be the official title of that?
Well, that still remains to be seen, but it should be called something along the lines of few, if any, consequences for those involved in perpetuating rape hoaxes.
It could be he said, she said, and then the reporter said something else. That'd be a good title. Well, I got to tell you, you are doing a fantastic job, and you've been on this subject for a long time, longer than most, and I appreciate each and every visit. Ash Shao, commentary writer, Washington Examiner, and go there and read all these excellent articles at WashingtonExaminer.com. Thank you, ma'am, and we'll do it again.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Coming up next, Jessica Vaughn, Director of Policy Studies, Center for Immigration Studies. Her latest, including this new data, report on gang arrest. That's interesting. Who do you think's in number one, huh? Oh, yeah. Don't go away.
Are you tired of hearing your favorite talk radio show sound like this? What if you could hear your favorite shows in crystal clear, high-definition digital sound? Well, with CRN Digital Talk Radio's 6 channels of high-definition radio, you can now hear all of your favorite hosts like you've never heard them before in CRN HD. The difference is amazing. Catch your favorite political hosts like Dennis Prager, Tom Hartman, Barry Farber, and so many more. Entertainment and lifestyle programming like The Robert Conrad Show, The What's Cooking Show, and The What's Cooking on Wine Show, all in true CRN HD audio. Sports, business, travel, food, wine, politics, there is something for everyone, and it's all available in CRN high-definition sound. Log on to www.crntalk for